Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I am so excited that you decided to take time out of your day to spend with me because today we will be wrapping up my January and February reading. Yeah. So, if you don't know, I am doing my wrap ups bi monthly now. And we're going to start off with some stats and then go from our DNFs up into our 5 stars to end on a positive note. So without further ado, we got a lot of yapping to do. Let's go ahead and hop into this video. Okay, so for the stats, in January I finished 8 books with a total of 3,070 pages and my average rating was a 3.56. For February I finished 6 books with a total of 2,304 pages and an average rating of a 3.33. So that should tell you how these 2 months went, but let's go into depth with what actually happened. Okay, so unfortunately, we had 3 DNFs, and the first one is going to be Silver Elite by Danny Francis. And this just was not doing it for me. I DNF'd this at about 29%. And yeah, I just wasn't feeling the military setting. I had figured out who the love interest was going to be, and that wasn't a love story that I was interested in. I didn't really care for our main character either. What's her name? Ren. Ren was kind of selfish, kind of annoying, and yeah, I just wasn't feeling this at all, unfortunately. My next DNF was Living Legend by Ali Shantae, and I stopped reading this book about 33% in. This is a story of angels and demons and them having to come together to figure out, a mystery, what's going on. And along the way, there's probably some romance up in there, and they realized that what they thought was cut and dry was not. And for me, this just took entirely too long to get going. I was 33% in. I didn't even know where we were going to go. I could tell that we were being set up for some really big reveals and plot twists, but it was just giving nothing. And I couldn't really make myself care enough to want to read on, which was unfortunate, but it's what happened. And my last DNF was House of Frank, which I stopped reading at about 69% in. And with this one, in this, we are following Saika, who is going to the, what is it called? Ash Gardens or something like that, to plant her sister in the Arboretum, because her sister has passed away. And while she's there, she meets Frank, who is the owner of the house, also some more side characters who live in the house as well. And we just kind of watch Saika, help out and kind of work through her grief and all the things, right? So my problem with this was that Saika was not a main character that I was rooting for. She was kind of mean unnecessarily to the people who were trying to help her. And then she also liked to push people to, work through their crap when she does not have that same energy for herself. She's actively running and hiding from her problems while pushing people past their breaking points and overstepping their boundaries to do what she thinks is going to help them. And I just wasn't a fan of that. I thought the writing was beautiful. I thought this book had a lot of beautiful things to say about grief. And after while I was deciding if I was going to DNF or not, I went to read some reviews and got spoiled. And that's what kind of ultimately made me decide to DNF, because I realized I did not care to see how that spoiler was going to happen. So yeah, I just ended up setting this book. Now, let's move on into our 2 stars, because unfortunately, there's more than one. First off, let us talk about the Woodsmoke Women's Book of Spells by Rachel Greenlaw. And this is about an old tale woven through the mountain town of Woodsmoke, about a stranger who appears at the first snowfalls in winter and disappears without a trace as the frost thaws in spring, leaving behind a broken heart. And honestly, I should have DNF'd this book, but it was just the first book that I read in 2026, and I did not want to create that energy for myself. But I mean, a 2 star as my first book, it ain't much better, to be completely honest. But this was not what I was expecting. I again wanted to fight some of these characters because they were just messing in other people's lives in ways that they definitely should not have been. And I didn't really understand the magic and the mountain and how those things went together with the Morgan women. It was just a little vague, and I just didn't like it. Okay, and this 2 star kind of hurt me because this was maybe a 5 star prediction for me, and that is Dating Jessica Brown by T. Ashley. And in this, we have a 35-year-old Jessica who is kind of muddling through life. She's a writer and she's kind of a recluse, a homebody, doesn't really get out. She's not dating anybody. And then she starts writing things that actually start to come to life. And so, yeah, yeah. My issues with this began with the relationships in this book. Jessica ends up dating someone who has very different morals and beliefs that she does in ways that I do not feel like you can compromise. And they just decided to not talk about it instead of talking through it. I might have felt better or different about the relationship if they actually had a conversation acknowledging their differences and how this relationship is going to move forward with those differences, but they decided to ignore it. And I'm like, at y'all's big age, y'all, like, this isn't just gonna go away. It's going to come up at some point because this is who you a part of who you are as a person. So I did not believe that. At one point there was a love triangle that was done not great either. And so, yeah, I had really high hopes for this, but unfortunately, it just kind of missed the mark for me. Okay, we only have one 2.5 star, and that is The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco by Talia Hibbert. And in this, we follow Arya and Nick, who strike up a fake dating situation because Nick is a famous footballer who has a hard time saying no. And so he enlists Arya to play his fake girlfriend and also kind of play his bodyguard. But he's doing this because he actually likes Arya and thinks that, spending time with him will make her like him just as much as he likes her. And so, yeah, I thought that it was, I thought the audiobook was great. So if you do plan to pick this up, do the audiobook. It's just something about this that I didn't really connect with, and I don't really know why. It's just something about Talia Hibbert's older books, or really anything outside of the Brown sisters that I have read, that is just kind of meh to me, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I just was missing something from this, and I didn't like the conflict. I didn't think the conflict even made sense, and it was like overblown to make it a thing when it really shouldn't have been, in my opinion. But yeah, yeah, this was definitely a disappointment. Now we can move into our 3 stars. The first one is going to be Sparks Fly by Zakia and Jamal. And in this, we follow a late bloomer who visits a sex club to jumpstart her love life and makes an instant connection that turns her world upside down. So the man that she meets at this club turns out to be her boss's brother, and also creating an AI system that could possibly take over her job. So there's some conflicts of interest there. And I thought this was cute. I liked our main characters. I felt a little iffy on the stance that was given on AI. And yeah, I was a little iffy on that. And also, I don't know, this just didn't stick out to me. It didn't wow me in any way. I do think it's still something that people can enjoy. I do plan on recommending it because it was a 3 star. It's just not something that is going to really stick in my brain. The next 3-star is The Marriage Narrative, and this was kind of a reality show, marriage of convenience. Well, not even really marriage of convenience, like a fake marriage situation where our two main characters are wanting more of a business partner than an actual relationship. But of course, they end up falling in love. And the reality show aspect of it to me was a little more harsh than I was expecting. The family was mean to her, and there was really no resolution to that. And I just, again, it was fine. It was fun in the moment. It's just nothing that is going to stick with me. Yeah, and it also is just like a little outlandish to me because our main character, and this is in the synopsis, our main character decided that she was going to date, and marry her husband, who would be a stranger to her, all within 30 days. And I'm just like, girl, absolutely not. And that alone was hard for me to grasp. So, yeah. But anyway, it was a fun time. And I think if I could have believed the relationship more, I think this would have really worked for me. But just something about them together, I had a hard time believing that they would be anything more than just really good friends. Moving to our 3.5 stars, the first one is going to be Debate and Decadence by Sula Sullivan. And this was such a cute little novella where we follow Amaya, who is happy spending her life in her little forest, living her own little life, going into town to sell her things when she needs, but just, doing her own thing. And then we have Rue, and Rue just came in like a freaking wrecking ball and turned everything upside down because she swore up and down that her and Amaya were fated mates, and Amaya was like, no. But just seeing, how they were with each other, it was really cute. It was really fun. And I liked it. I feel like if we had got more, we could have, developed more in the relationship, and it might have even been rated higher. But this was under 100 pages, and I think we needed more. My next 3-star is Fallen Gods by Rachel Van Dyken, and this was a Norse inspired fantasy romance that was also like a little on the dark academic side. We follow Ray, whose father is Odin, and he has basically bred her to be his weapon, and now it's time for her to go weapon. And so she has to go to this university and steal back Mjolnir. And to do that, she has to get close to the only person who knows where Mjolnir is, and that is Eric. But the catch is, her and Eric have a little bit of a history to do so, but she's got to find it because Odin is starting to kill all the people she loves. Yeah. So this was, I think, a little slow for me. I wish we had gotten more of the academic setting. The gods were in human bodies and they were sleeping. So there's varying degrees to this sleeping. So some of them knew who they were, some of them didn't. And I just needed a little bit more of the lore to fully understand all of this. And I like Ray and Eric together. Yeah, it's just there were lulls in this to me, and sometimes I just wasn't caring, and sometimes I was like invested. But since it's only a duology, I do plan on continuing to see how it ends. And yeah, it was pretty cool. All right, we got about 4 stars to get through, so let's go ahead and do that. Our first one is going to be Love Under Contract by Nina High. This is the first book in the Martin Brothers series, and I really enjoyed this. I almost thought it was going to be a 5-star, but it wasn't. But I still really had a good time. And this one we follow Charisse, who met a guy at this like painting or pottery class, something like that. And she really hit it off with him, but they didn't exchange numbers or anything. But she ran into him the next day after a job interview, only to find out that his family owns the company that she was interviewing for. And our guy Drew needs to get married to be able to inherit this company from his family. And so he proposes a fake marriage of convenience to Charisse because, she's in need of money. and he needs a wife, and they already had, this great chemistry anyway. So yeah, this is a billionaire romance, and I'm always on the fence with billionaire romances, you know, and he started spending money like a billionaire, and I feel like that was part of what kind of put me off just a tad bit. And then Drew's family was so mean to Sharice unnecessarily. Like, yeah, and Sharice's friend turned out to be, one of the breakout stars for me. And I'm super excited to read her book. I think she has the third book in this series. So, yeah, I'm definitely continuing on. Definitely excited. You should pick it up. Then we have Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. And this was a very interesting book to me. We follow three women in three different timelines: 1532, 1827, and 2019. And we are following Maria, what is her name? Charlotte and Alice. And for a while, I was very confused because we were only hearing about Maria. I thought like most of this book was about Maria, but then we eventually met Charlotte and Alice and realized how the stories converged, and it made sense why we had to learn so much about Maria to even make it make sense. So yeah, I think this book took a turn for me at the last 25% ish, and I don't know if I liked the turn. I feel like it was two separate books, and I probably would have enjoyed the books, individually, but them being put together kind of kind of gave me mixed feelings. And also, I just don't think it was toxic enough. Like, V.E. Schwab describes this book as toxic lesbian vampires, and I don't feel like we got nearly enough of any three of those things to be like marketing that. Like, I didn't get enough toxicity, I didn't get enough lesbian-y, and I didn't get enough vampy. So yeah, and it was a long book, so you had plenty of time to like really amp that up. But no, yeah, it was cool though. Definitely more on the literary side. Not a whole lot of action. So if that's what you're looking for, then maybe not this one. But it's just kind of a slow meandering watching these three women live life. My next 4-star is going to be The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness. This is the third book in the All Soul series, but it's also the finale of the original trilogy story arc. And then she just started writing books, like outside of that, different stories. But this is the end of the main original story, and I think it was a great ending to this series. I love being with these characters, and just to see how it all kind of came together and how everything happened, I was a fan of. In this, we follow Diana, who is a witch, but she doesn't practice, and she's actually a scholar and a historian. And one day she's studying in the Bodleian Library, and she calls up a magical text, and this has been missing for centuries, and people want it, and they kind of like feel the magic off of it. And of course, all of these creatures, vampires, witches, and demons, become interested in Diana, and more specifically Matthew Claremont, who is a vampire scientist, and then they fall in love. But the issue is that you're not supposed to have interspecies relationships, and they also are trying to find this text again because it's supposed to contain the histories of witches, demons, and vampires. So it's just a whole hell of a lot going on. This is a mix between like a thriller, historical, fantasy, romance situation, and I loved every second of it. Like, this just made my nerdy heart very happy. As a lover of witches and vampires, this just gave me everything that I needed. Moving right along to Plus Size Player, and y'all, when I found out about this book made me actually want to pick this series up, because I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be a me book, because we follow Nina, who doesn't like to put all her eggs in one basket. She works multiple jobs, she enjoys multiple hobbies, and she dates multiple men. And in her 30 years of life, she has never come across a man who has everything she's looking for, until she runs across Russell Long, her designated fun guy, who shows her he's good for more than just thrills. It seems he's too good to be true. Yeah, this was so fun. Nina is a great main character. She is a blast. I absolutely love her. We would be friends in real life, and I can definitely relate to some of her antics because, yeah. But I think the only thing that kind of really kept this from being a 5 star for me is that I didn't like the conflict that came up. I wasn't expecting it. I should have been, because once I thought about it, the clues are right on my face. But I was just so busy giggling over Nina and Russ that I forgot that other stuff was happening. So yeah, I did really like the way that Nina and Russ handled that conflict. It kind of felt a little off for who they were presented to be as characters, and it gave petty and childish, and I just didn't like. I thought that this had maybe one too many spice scenes in it, and actually like public scenes. Like, y'all have a lot to lose and y'all out here in public just acting a fool. Like, come on now. Get it together. But yeah, this was definitely a fun time, and I am excited to read the other books in this series. Okay. And the last 4 star is going to be The Fall That Saved Us by Tamara Jarre. This is a book where we follow Cassio, who is a demon hunter, angelic type deal, and she runs into Avatu, who was supposed to be taking her soul. Avatu is a succubus, but then, they kind of like each other, and it's definitely an unprecedented situation. But as they talk to each other more and more, they find out lies that they might have been told. The situations that have been presented to them might not actually be the case, and they're just probably pawns in a larger situation. If you plan to pick this book up, definitely check the trigger warnings, because it's very heavy and some of these topics are very sensitive. I thought this was beautiful. It was sad, and I really was rooting for our main characters, and I'm happy that they got a somewhat happy ending. Okay, and now we're going to move on to our 4.5 stars. The first one is going to be An Unlikely Coven by A.M. Kavita. And in this, we follow Joan Greenwood, who after 7 long years is coming home. Unfortunately, her family totally forgot about it. Overshadowing her return is the news that someone created a spell that can turn an ordinary human into a powerful witch. When her best friend confesses that he has secretly accidentally kidnapped this human turned witch, Joan is thrust headfirst into a desperate race against her family to undo the spell before it does permanent damage to its unwilling host. And this is like the most chaotic, fun, goofy, all the things. I really enjoyed this one. It's like it's just like a big hug. The found family in this is just so great, and I really loved that for Joan, because she was done wrong for absolutely no reason, and so I was rooting for her to, find people who actually cared about her. And yeah, this is wild. Now, the magic system in this is not fully explained, and I do have a lot of questions about how everything works, but this is going to be a series, so maybe I will get those answers. And I think that's why this wasn't a full 5 star for me. Some things were just a little confusing, and in some spots it just felt a little too meandering, but overall this was such a great, fun, cozy experience, and I'm super excited to read the next book. And the last book that I'm going to talk about, because unfortunately I have yet to find a 5 star of 2026, is going to be An Arcane Inheritance by Camilla Cole. And this was so close. I was really thinking this was going to be my first 5 star, but unfortunately it didn't fully get there, but it still will probably be one of my favorite books of the year, because let me tell you something. This was so good and so unexpected. I had never read anything by Camilla Cole before, but I am so excited that this is what I started with. And in this one, we're following Ellery, who is determined to prove that she belongs at Warren University, an Ivy League school whose history is deeply linked to occult rumors and dark secrets. But as she settles into her freshman year, something about the ornate buildings and shadowy paths feels strangely familiar. And with every passing day, that sense of deja vu grows increasingly sinister. And if she can't convince brooding legacy student Hudson Graves to help her remember a past that seems determined to slip through her fingers as if by some insidious magic, this time she may lose herself for good. And y'all, I usually don't like books that have this thing in them, and I can't tell you this thing because it is the plot twist, so I'm gonna have to be real vague around it. But yeah, I was shook. I was shaken. I love the commentary on academia here, but not just academia, but being a Black person in academia, a Black woman, but also being someone who is poor and trying to go through academia. Like, I related to Hillary so much, it was wild. Like, she is me, I am her. The romance in this left a little bit to be desired for me in this, but overall, I just had a really, really, really good time. And I'm super excited that I got a chance to experience this story. It definitely gave the gothic, dark academia vibes, and it was a good time, a great time. And so, yeah, those are all of the books that I read in January and February. Here's to hoping that March brings us a 5-star, because I am in need. I am deeply in need. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. Anything that you do to support me and my channel, friend, I greatly appreciate it. I hope you have the best day that you possibly can. Remember to take care of yourself, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.